Hello, guys. Welcome to the first episode of the Target Man podcast. Today you've got me, your host, AK. You will see me every single week. Maybe fortunately, maybe unfortunately. Trying to bring guests every single time. But today I am joined for the first episode by my good friend, Happy. Happy, why
Hello.
do you introduce yourself to the listeners?
Hi. So I'm happy. Uh,
That's a good
a
start.
fellow football enthusiast like AK, and we are hoping to talk about the transfer window right now and the situations that the major clubs are in right now. So hope you'll have a good time. And yeah,
Who do you support, Happy?
hoping
Who do you support? Who do you
the
support?
listeners. Oh yeah, I support Real Madrid.
I say
Hala
Real
Madrid.
Madrid fan. Okay, so we might get a little bit of bias there later on, but it's okay. It's okay. No, but as you guys already know from the short and then the stuff I've put out before, I've obviously just come back from COVID, so I disappeared for about 2 weeks, which was a bit shit for me. I don't know if I should have said that, but anyway, it was rubbish. Um, but in essence, I've now come back, so you might hear me cough a little bit, but I'm not spreading anything. Don't worry. But we are planning to come back every single week with something, whether it's about a club, a style of play, or something, just analyzing something different every single week. So today we're just going to go keep it nice and simple. Just talk a little bit about our thoughts on the transfer window. As you know, it started off a bit slow. Some big transfers here and there, but then we kind of got to a point later on where it started to pick up pace, and a lot of the bigger clubs actually started to make moves. Some clubs got involved very early on, and I think that's what we're gonna have a chat about as well. So yeah, happy you're ready as well.
Absolutely, mate.
Perfect. So I think let's have, it's a good place to start. We'll start with probably the Premier League because I think as many people will probably disagree, and I think we'll probably see something in the comments or feedback about a lot of people disagreeing that the Premier League is probably the strongest league in Europe. I think every year we kind of see the Premier League improve its quality. Um, but I think we saw from last year, in terms of the team that is supreme, is obviously Man City, right? And Pep, or as he's also known as Fraudiola sometimes. But
Yep.
Pep was pretty early out of the rules, wasn't he? Making his moves, earmarking his names very early on.
Yeah, yeah. I
No,
think
so
it's not only him. I mean, he was like gives his orders, but you have to give credit to the Man City board as well. Like they have been very quick in terms of acquiring the player that probably Pep had asked for,
hmm
and
I think definitely.
overall, yeah,
Let's go on.
yeah. So uh, I think the board members like Khaldoon and Cheeky Beggarstein, they they deserve a shout out.
I would definitely
They,
agree. I think. Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to
yeah,
cut you off
no,
there.
so no worries, no. I think they've been doing a good job. Yeah.
I think definitely to attest to that. I think the structure that, as much as I don't like City, so you probably already know if you know me already. If you don't, I am a Manchester United fan. I'll probably get some absolute pelters
Yeah.
in the comments for it. But um, you know, City have actually structured their board and the way they've brought brought this director of football, this infrastructure into place, with Pep talking to
Hmm.
Cheeky, and obviously he's actually got a very good relationship with Cheeky. He used to play in the
It
same team.
dates back to the Barcelona days, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So they used to play together in
Yeah,
close team at the time. So
yeah.
they know each other for a long time, and obviously there is that element of a relationship. Everyone's had this discussion in the past about Pep and his ego. I don't, it's something there. He definitely has something, but that's probably something we can allude to in another episode. But there is definitely
Yeah, yeah.
some sort of structure there, which means that they earmark their targets. I think it's obviously a very easy project to sell as well, because you're almost
Exactly,
guaranteed a trophy or two every year.
exactly. And like to talk about Man City, I usually like to talk about Man City in regards I I contrast Man City with club like PSG. Both of them have owners from the Middle East. I mean, they're state-owned clubs,
Mm-hmm.
but you can well see the difference in their approach towards building a sporting project, right? Like
Yeah.
Man City, of course, like it's pretty apparent from their moves in the market, like how well the board is involved and how their vision aligns perfectly with that of the coach. And I mean, if we talk about PSG, I mean, of course, we'll come to PSG later. But if we talk about PSG as a sporting institution,
Mm-hmm.
I I really I don't really see any semblance of a sporting project over
Yeah.
there, to be
Yeah.
honest. And the hierarchy which they have in place in regards to the manager and the players, I think that's very questionable because I really doubt with the superstar players that they have and all the egos around. I really doubt the managers do have a say as such.
I agree, and
So
I think
yeah,
that's probably something we should touch on when we get to PSG, because I think
exactly,
there's a lot to discuss in the element of PSG, because there's so many facets to the actual way they're run. Um,
exactly.
but like we talked about City, and I think the thing that City had last year is they won the league, right? And it went to the last day. It came to a point where Gundogan came off the bench and scored 2 goals.
It literally came to it came down to a matter of few minutes, to be honest.
Exactly, right? So it was tight, and I think they had a couple of injuries, but I think the things that they were possibly missing. I mean, some people will argue they didn't really need it. Some people will say no, they did. But I think the one thing that they were looking at
A
acquiring,
striker.
yeah. So one
Yeah,
thing they were always looking at acquiring and always have been is kind of a number 9, right? So
yeah,
they had they were always linked with 2 names, and they obviously did make a bid in the summer before for Harry Kane.
yeah. Harry Kane, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was up to 150 million or something were the figures bandied around, which is ridiculous money, and it's not something I'd expect from City. But and then the other name that they were obviously linked with is Erling Haaland, and I think both of those guys kind of epitomise that both dynamic footballers now. I think they obviously are. They have that ability to also play in the position that this podcast is named after, as a target man. But I think they're also,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they're also very, very dynamic in the way they play, right? So
yeah.
uh, I think,
Well, I mean, I would in case of Kane, I'd like to argue that he's more than just a target man. We
I
all
think
know
so.
that
I think so.
he
I
can
think
link up
his
very well.
role kind of developed under Mourinho. I think that ability to drop deep. But then I think you
Yeah.
look at
There's
this.
that running joke. I don't know if you're aware of it. Like Kane as a CDM.
Of course, yeah. I've seen that. He's just feeding Son.
Yeah,
But I think the one signing, obviously the guy they were linked with, and the signing they eventually made was Erling Haaland. And
yeah.
Erling Haaland, it's scary almost the figures he's
It's scary.
the
Yeah,
figures he's churning out at the age of 21.
yeah,
I think he was 83 goals in 89 games or something or 86 games
yeah,
for
yeah,
Dortmund.
yeah. Limits.
And then even his record for Norway is also insane. So I think his overall record so far, considering from his time in the second team in Norway, etc. In
Yeah, yeah.
total in his career, he's got 155 goals in 200 games. Right, so
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that's like 0.78, 0.775, 0.78 goals a game as an average. 86 goals in 89 games
hmm
at Dortmund, 29 and 27 for Salzburg, and he's even got 20 and 21 for Norway. And you can
yeah.
see him smashing all the records for Norway as well. So what do you actually think? I mean, have you felt that the City way, or the way they were playing last year, lacked that striker? Because Haaland is he's a machine. He's super fast. I think he also has a record or something in Norway. as a, if I remember correctly, yeah, he has a record, I think, set for the fastest 60 meters or something in Norway's under 18 history in athletics, or something like that. And
That's something I wasn't aware of, to be honest.
he's also got a world record, reportedly, in his age category for standing long jump when he was 5. Apparently jumping 1.63 meters.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
He's a physical specimen. So
For sure.
And he's quick. He's 6'4". He's strong. Do you think he's going to be able to really fit into Pep's style of play? Because obviously Pep does like a very fluid style of play, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with what you just said, Terry. So, when I got to hear the news, that was my first reaction. Like, it's scary. It's going to be scary for all the other Premier League teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, now to put things into perspective, we all witnessed how Pep managed to pull off this full season without a proper number 9.
Yeah.
So that might also put into question the actual need of a striker into Pep's system. That's really a pressing need, or he could just do fine without any such number 9.
Because he was playing false 9 a lot.
Yeah, so basically he rotated 6 players for goal scoring options, like the 3 midfielders and the 3 forwards. All of them rotated in turn as sort of false 9 forward / goal scorer.
Yeah.
There was De Bruyne, Bernardo, Foden, Jesus.
Mahrez.
The only player that I
well.
think wasn't the only player that was rather kept his position and rarely came into into rotating with other players was Mahrez, because he was the out and out winger of the team.
He did play actually false 9 a couple of times though.
He did.
Yeah, he played a little bit, but he wasn't at the same.
Yeah.
I don't think he didn't play as often as say a Foden or a De Bruyne or a Bernardo Silva, for sure.
Exactly. So the out and out winger there, apart from Sterling was obviously that much else thing. So I mean, we have seen Pep with a striker in case of Aguero, and I mean, in Pep's own words, there's no one that can replace what Aguero has done. But with Haaland and probably Julian Alvarez, starting to look forward to what he's planning to do. Is he planning to start the both of them in sort of 2-man strike partnership, or will he play Alvarez just behind Haaland? Because a lot of Pep's style, as we all know, depends a lot on how players are with the ball.
Yeah.
In contrast to, for example, Klopp's system, where they focus on losing the ball but winning them as soon as possible. So,
pressing high, right?
In case of Pep, it's more with the ball. So, in terms of adapting to the system, I really don't think there will be much problem.
But do you see it as kind of being a first year thing? And I think this is not something we were going to originally cover, but you look at Jack Grealish. Okay, I mean, I've always had my qualms about Grealish.
I still do.
Yeah, I've always had my qualms. I think he's a decent player, for sure, but I don't put him in that world class category yet. I don't think he's £100 million player. I think if I had a choice, I would start Foden over him for sure on the left. I think when you look at
any day of the week, man.
Exactly. I think Mahrez, honestly, has kind of locked down that right wing position now. especially since Foden.
Yeah, pretty
Since
much.
since Jesus is gone. I think you've also got that Bernardo Silva. I think is starting to play a lot deeper, so he's not really going to be challenging Mahrez. So Mahrez has locked down that right wing position for sure. I think
For sure.
because I've had this discussion with a few people. I think Haaland obviously starts. I have a feeling that Alvarez is probably going to play as rotation, because the thing that
Mhm.
Alvarez brings, that I think a lot of that Pep loves probably, is the fact that not only can he play as a striker, he can also play both wings. So
Exactly.
right, and he was a cheap signing for 14 million. So he was, it's well worth having a guy who's dynamic and can play both wings. So I think you've probably got that element, but I think Foden probably will
Yeah.
start in that team ahead of Grealish. But I don't think
I think sorry to interrupt you, but
no, no.
I really think like the signing of Alvarez opens up a lot of possibilities for. I mean,
The iterations, right, that they can use in the forward three.
exactly.
I agree with that.
It would be interesting to see how Pep implements both Alvarez and Haaland. Like,
I think Haaland has established himself as the number one striker, and he's top three, top five, top three for most people as well. Top three
that
strikers
goes
in
without
Europe
saying.
in world football, right?
He is the top, at least,
Um,
or top four. I mean,
yeah, because there's people who have different ratings and different rankings, and people will come at me
yeah.
saying I'm biased, but
But
the
he
names up
surely makes the top five.
the
for sure.
the names
In
up there
innings.
are obviously Benzema, Lewandowski, Ronaldo's up there as
Harry
well.
Kane.
Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's up there as a centre forward as well. So there's a lot of options. But I think
Yeah.
the thing there, as I was saying for Jack Grealish, is he didn't have that stellar season this year, right? And he's come in, £100 million signing, big name,
Yeah.
theoretically, obviously, especially in England, big reputation, big price tag. He wasn't really a standout for the City team, and it's some people argue it's the fact he needs to adapt to Pep's system. So
Yeah.
are we really going to see that element of where Haaland is going to hit the ground running, or is he going to need that time to adapt as well? Because he has the ability to move, and we've seen him quite a few times, especially in Dortmund games where he's come deeper occasionally. So he'll come deeper, he'll take the ball, he'll spread it, and then he'll get himself in the box, which is classic centre forward play, and I think it's fantastic for him. He's also a guy who's got a reputation. He's obviously got a links to City as well because his father used to play there famously. So, do you actually see him hitting the ground running? Seeing Grealish as an example over the last year, because he's the other big name that's come through in the last 2 years or so.
My only concern with Haaland is that he thrives near the box.
Yeah.
So like if you want to get the best out of him,
Mm-hmm.
you need players who gotta do the work for him.
Yeah.
So I think now this just came to my mind. I think that Pep can do what Bayern have been doing with Muller and Lewandowski. I don't know how good of a parallel that is, but
Okay.
I think like that can be a thing. Where Muller does the pressing, the ball winning,
Yeah.
providing the passes and all that, which Alvarez is reportedly good at. I mean, of course, I haven't seen much of him. Just going by whatever compilation that are available.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he can do that, and of course, then you have Haaland up front. Very well finish off those chances.
But he is pretty quick. Obviously, he has his energy, so he has done some element of pressing at Dortmund as well. He's very hungry for the ball. I think we see a hunger to get the goals. So maybe
also, if you remember, there was an interview of Haaland where he speaks of Jamie Vardy and how he admires Vardy's off the ball runs, in behinds, and all that.
Yeah, He's very good. He's very good in the box. I agree with that. And I think the only thing,
Oh yeah,
I think it might take him a couple of games to hit the ground running. I don't think
that's
he's
for
gonna.
sure.
I don't think he's gonna
That's for
be
sure.
off the bat scoring. Some people are gonna say, and I think a lot of detractors will probably try and say, if he's not got 10 goals by October, then he's a fraud or something. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I think people have to understand that. Like,
No, I
he's
know, but I
moving
think
to a
it makes him
completely
an
new
easy
system.
target, right? But I definitely agree with the fact that he is probably going to be a success at City. I think it's just going to be a case of time. He adapts very well to his teams, but I think the one thing
Yeah,
that he's going to be able to do, because obviously City also played with Ferran Torres as a false nine before, the one thing that he's able to do is he's a finisher. He's a natural finisher, right? And I think he's a better finisher
exactly.
than Mbappe as well. For comparable at his age, Mbappe's obviously a couple of years older, but he's a lot better as a finisher. He's clinical. So I think we're gonna see
I
that.
would beg to differ, to be honest, but we can keep that for later.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think when I see Mbappe running through a goal and I see Haaland running through a goal, I think Haaland gives me that more confidence that he's gonna score. I think Mbappe will get the run, but I think Haaland's more likely to finish.
Uh,
I think if I wanted a centre forward, I think I'd have Haaland. But if I wanted somebody for just to score goals, if I wanted somebody for all around game, I'd have Mbappe. But that's a different matter.
yeah, that's it. We can talk about that later.
So then, obviously, we've touched about Alvarez
So,
and how they've.
also,
Sorry,
since
go
you
on.
brought up Jack Grealish,
Uh huh.
I wonder what sort of a role does he get this season? Like,
I
how much does Pep rely on him?
I think
Because we all know that Foden is a better left winger than him. I mean, he's better at that. Of course, Foden is versatile; he can play anywhere. But
I think Foden is
he's
also.
mostly
I
been
think
deployed at
Foden.
the left.
No, but I think
So,
Foden is also a
and
better player overall, right?
sorry,
I think Foden's also a better player overall than Grealish. I think he's more
overall,
technical.
yeah, sure, no doubt.
I think my your point there, to touch your point on Grealish and his reliance, I think he's obviously done things. I think he had. It's obviously going to take him a year to embed himself theoretically, which he has done. I think he missed a couple of big chances in the Champions League, obviously against Real Madrid, which are obviously going to haunt him for many years. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, because when I look at that City team and the squad in general, I don't see him as a starter. Because if you look at kind of their midfield, you look at their City play a 4-3-3, right?
Yeah,
They're very, very predictable in the sense that you'll get Edison, you'll have Kyle Walker, you'll have Ruben Diaz, you'll probably have
but
Laporte or Stones, one or the other, how he feels
yeah,
on the day, right? And then you're
yeah,
gonna have Cancelo at left back.
Cancelo, yeah,
That's your back five sorted, okay?
yeah,
And I think we're going to touch on this point a little bit. I think we can actually touch on it now. Was the point that they signed Calvin Phillips.
yeah,
Calvin Phillips is now coming in as a defensive midfielder.
yeah,
But I think he's going to be, he's a £42 million signing, which is quite big for City, and it's increasing their depth because I think Fernandinho is a big loss to the team, for sure, especially as captain.
for sure.
But I think what you're going
The
to see
captain,
now,
yes,
I think, is Rodri's still going to be the number one defensive midfielder.
without a doubt.
He's going to sit at that base behind that Busquets role as such. But
Yeah,
he manages to get himself forward. You've then got two positions right in front. I think Kevin De
mm.
Bruyne takes that position easily. Obviously,
Alongside Bernardo Silva.
I think Bernardo Silva's up there, and I think Gundogan is also in that frame, right? But I think Bernardo
Gundogan,
Silva is obviously
well,
in a better form at the moment.
Gundogan will most likely come off the bench.
I agree. I mean, I think Bernardo Silva will for some games, and I think Gundogan for others.
Yeah, could be.
Because Bernardo Silva had a fantastic end to the season, but so did Gundogan.
Gundogan, yeah, Gundogan was more of a clutch player.
Yeah, but I would say it's one of those two, right? I would definitely put Bernardo for sure, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's whether
for sure.
it's depending on the team, right? I think if you're looking for a more attacking team, you play with Bernardo. If you're playing
Bernardo,
maybe a
yeah.
Liverpool or a Chelsea or a big team, they're probably gonna go with Gundogan.
Yeah.
because I think Gundogan tracks back a lot better. I mean, not no disrespect to Bernardo. I love the guy for sure. Even though I'm not their fan, but yeah. And then I think you look at the front three. Mahrez, like we said, has that right wing position unlocked.
Mahrez, without a doubt.
You know, he's had a stellar season, 20 plus goals last year. Haaland is the number 9, easily.
Number 9.
And
Foden.
I think Foden knocks down that left wing position. So you then, when you look at the options available in that front three, he's got Grealish. He's obviously got Alvarez. And he's actually blooding through quite a few of the youth team players. So,
I really am not much aware of.
No, that's fine, I assume, because I mean Cole Palmer has been knocking at the door recently.
Palmer.
Palmer's been knocking at the door recently to get involved. They signed this new Brazilian guy that I'm not too sure about. I don't know enough about him. But there's definitely a lot of
17 years, yeah.
KK. He's like 19 or something. But I don't know enough about him, so I'm not going to comment on him. But there's enough options there for Pep to leave Grealish on the bench. I think the only time I don't even know where would he play Grealish. I think his reliance on Grealish would probably come in the slightly less important games, because I think people might point to the fact that Grealish tracks back, etc. to some extent. I don't think he does enough, but I think
with Grealish,
no, but I don't think
that you have is with Grealish, the assurance that you have is like you won't lose the ball that much. Like,
but I think Foden is just as good as a dribbler.
As a dribbler, yes. And
yeah,
of course
I think
he's
Foden
more agile, more faster than
I think he's
Grealish.
just as good as a dribbler. So I think he's locked his place down. I think so. I don't think he's gonna be. So I mean, when you you talk about their strength in depth. You know, they signed all these guys. They've signed Haaland. They've signed Alvarez. They've signed Calvin Phillips.
To be honest, who knows? They might bring in someone else as well.
Who?
They might bring in other players as well.
I think there's only one name on the list, because obviously these guys were brought in as kind of replacements, right? So Haaland was brought in for the fact that they didn't have a striker, and he was kind of earmarked a long time ago. Calvin Phillips is coming in for Fernandinho. Fernandinho's obviously had a fantastic 10 years, or was it 12 years at City so far. He's pretty much won almost everything except the Champions League. Surprisingly, the big one was, or the big two really, were Jesus, who has
Sterling.
And Sterling. So Jesus has obviously gone to Arsenal for 45 million. So we'll probably touch on that a bit later. And Sterling has gone for 47.5, basically 50 million to Chelsea. So the thing with City have basically made 100 million pounds from two players who have 1 year left on their contract. Which is
smart business, I would say.
Very smart business, and it's basically the money they've paid. You know, for Sterling they made the same money back, and for Jesus they've actually made a profit. Very similar to what they did with Ferran Torres. You know, they bought him for 20, sold him for 55 million euros or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's two other names that are actually linked with going out. One of them is a squad player, and one of them is actually in that first 11 that we just talked about. So one is Zinchenko. So Zinchenko has obviously been on TV a lot recently, mainly about the Ukraine crisis, which is a horrible situation to be in. I can feel for him, and people are a little bit annoyed about him crying. But the idea is his country's under attack, right? His family is there, so he's obviously got every right. So Zinchenko is on his way to Arsenal. So Arsenal have agreed a fee for around £30 million for Zinchenko.
I think they're working on the personal agreement.
Yeah, so they're working on the personal terms at the moment. So I think that's going to give them a bit more depth. I think he probably starts over Tierney, but I think we'll talk about that later. And they're losing a figure in the team, but they're also looking at signing then we said as a replacement Cucurella from Brighton.
Yeah.
So he had a very good season. People say he went a bit under the radar. He had a very good season, but he's also a young player. And I think the thing that Pep
I think
has...
he's 25, 24, 25 something.
Not
So
bad.
he's fairly young.
Yeah, he can develop, especially, for a fullback.
Under Pep. Yeah.
Yeah, to some extent. But there's quite a bit in there. And I think we can say, there's going to be enough adept replacements. Pep obviously thinks he plans well in advance. He must have had a discussion with him already about his intention to get Cucurella, and we all know he's going to sit as backup to João Cancelo. And the one player that we were talking about in that starting 11, who's probably going to go, is our boy Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva obviously had a stellar season. He's linked with Barcelona. Barcelona obviously will only sell if they get rid of Frankie de Jong, who we will touch later, and his quest in United's quest to make him sign for them in the threat. Just a fiasco at this point. But there's rumours about an 80 million euro. I think 80 million euro, wasn't it, or 80 million pounds? 80 million euros, I assume.
85, I guess.
Euros, right? 85 million euros bid has been accepted between Mendes, his agent, because as everyone knows, whoever watches or follows the news, Jorge Mendes has every single Portuguese client that can probably play football, including our man Ronaldo, Jose Mourinho as the manager, etc., etc. So Bernardo Silva has apparently had this agreement in place. There was obviously, rumours last year, or kind of, there were talks last year, and I think he mentioned himself about the fact that he wanted to possibly look at leaving. But Pep kind of convinced him to stay, and obviously he had this fantastic season. So Pep obviously is kind of keen for him to stay, because obviously he makes their first 11. But the question now is he really going to stay, or is he going to pursue that move to Barcelona? I think it's probably...
I remember when talk started of, Bernardo willing to leave and all that. I mean, links started coming out of him, like joining Madrid, and now 1 year later we are at a point where he has already reportedly agreed personal terms with Barcelona.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, I would be very disappointed. I would be disappointed, annoyed, and if he joins Barcelona, because he's a really good player, and surely an upgrade over Frankie.
Do you think so?
To be honest, Frankie, of course, he has a higher ceiling, and he hasn't yet, reached his full potential at Barcelona.
They're similar ages. There's only a couple of years between them.
Yeah. Because Frankie, he's been at Barca for 3 years now, and he hasn't yet hit the ground running.
I think he's probably been a victim of the board and the manager changes. But I think that's probably going to be a transfer that we'll see how it pans out over the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
I think for sure. And obviously we touched on Sterling, and I think the one thing about Sterling is, it leads very, very nicely into our talks about Chelsea. Chelsea obviously had their issues with Abramovich in the sense, that he was a Russian owner.
We all know how that went.
Yeah, he had his assets frozen. Yeah. He obviously sold to Todd Bowley. Chelsea and Tuchel didn't have their best season last year, despite signing heavily after winning the Champions League. Probably an element of an aging squad and a disgruntled squad to some extent.
Their off-the-field engagements or controversies gain more attention than...
Yeah, I'd say so. But I think they also had that element of disgruntled squad at some points. So they've made two big signings. Obviously, one is Sterling. Sterling is coming in as their new winger, because Tuchel obviously plays a 3-4-2-1. He likes to play two like, not wingers as such. I mean, it's interesting to see where Sterling will play. I don't think he'll play as a left back or right back. So you're probably playing that two behind the striker. We've obviously seen Lukaku.
One thing about Tuchel and his system is like that he prefers players who are versatile, like can play many positions.
100%.
So-
I think.
I think first Lukaku was a big letdown, and when Lukaku was signed, it was reported that he was more of a, Maria Granovskaya and Peter Cech signing rather than Tuchel signing. Tuchel apparently didn't want to have him in the squad as such.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
So,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean-
I don't know how much I believe that because I think Marina's always had. I respect Marina for everything she's done for the club in the sense she's always had the best interest at heart, and obviously he was killing it in Serie A. He was a top 5 striker. He kind of got a nutritionist. He got himself in shape. He looked really good and agile. Because Lukaku's not a slow boy. He's a big boy, but he's not a slow boy. And I think one of the things we saw at City, and I think I saw later on after his ill-fated interview where he talked about Inter Milan, was the fact that he just seemed to be putting on weight. He looked a bit slower, and some of it can be attested to match fitness and the injuries, but he didn't look like the kind of the same striker as he was. And I think that's where you saw kind of Havertz. Havertz used to play in that two behind. Havertz pushed up as a striker. Because Timo Werner has been very, very underwhelming. So I can see Sterling.
Timo Werner.
So
I mean, I really had very high hopes from Timo, especially after what all he had done at Leipzig. And I was really looking forward to Timo Werner.
I think
But
he's probably struggled a little
I
bit
think
with
the problem with all this is like Tuchel's system. Maybe he hasn't yet played players in their best positions.
He's played as a one striker before, and he's played as a two striker before. Werner.
Yeah.
I think Werner, to be honest, just can't deal with the physicality of the league. That's my
Could be.
honest opinion. I think
Could be.
he's probably used to a higher line. I think he's used to using his pace, but I think the Premier League has obviously quicker centre backs. I think it's also a lot more
And
physical, and he's not exactly
Along with that, his finishing didn't help either.
Yeah, he's
I mean,
he's had times where he's been in the right positions, but his finishing has been awful. I think one of them was actually in the
Awful, yeah.
Champions League final or semi-final, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. He had a couple of chances there, so he needs to work on it. He either needs to work on it or they need to get rid of them. So Sterling's going to come in, I think, and play in one of those two positions. I think Havertz has.
I think so. Takes Warner's position.
Yeah, I think Havertz is obviously going to push up and play as the striker.
Yeah, Havertz becomes the primary centre forward.
Yeah, I think that he's going to have. I think the other position is probably going to be taken by Mason Mount.
Mason Mount.
Not that. I mean, it's debatable whether I would start him there, but I'd probably talk about that another time. But he is. He's
I mean,
probably,
if it comes down to Pulisic and Mason Mount, I think you go with Mason Mount without second.
No, I think so. But
Pulisic-
there's been talk about
Pulisic
actually.
light.
There's been talk about actually
like
playing.
Warner. Yeah.
Yeah, Werner. There's been talk about playing Werner there. But I think that's something we'll have to discuss at a later point, maybe in a future episode, where we can actually analyse Chelsea as a whole. Because obviously Ziyech doesn't look like he's going to make that position his own. He's obviously looking like he's on his way to AC Milan,
AC Milan. Yeah.
which is probably a good move for both parties. You know, he had a fantastic time at Ajax. He didn't come and do the same bits that he did at Chelsea. He played some good football, but I don't know whether he was not
I
consistent
think the
enough.
problem with Havertz is that
Havertz
and
or
the
Ziyech?
same as the one with the problem with GH. Sorry, I said Havertz. So the problem with GH is this team is kind of as Warner's, like the physicality part of it. Like he's a very talented player, no doubt.
I think he's technical enough to deal with it, but I think he's been a victim of probably a changing system and changing team
Could be.
to some extent, because he's put in some good performances, but I think it's very difficult to play in that 3-4-2-1. So I think Sterling's going to have his time taken out from him, but he's we'll see. And I think the other big one that we've seen, the other big incoming recently over the last couple of days is Koulibaly.
Yeah.
From Napoli. He turned down a lucrative offer from Napoli. I mean, we say lucrative, but it was It was
By their standards.
by their
Napoli
standards, yeah, by Napoli standards. It was, I think it was something like 8 million or something a year, or 7.5 million. Obviously, Chelsea are going to pay him 10 million euros net, which is crazy money. I think it works out to around £300,000 a week gross, which makes him actually second highest earner behind N'Golo Kante, one or the other. Third highest is actually ironically Timo Werner. It's surprising as always, but I think the thing we could say with Koulibaly, he's come in, he's got a big reputation. Napoli obviously offered him a lucrative contract. You know, they also offered him a future position on the board.
Did they?
Yeah, as part of his offer was a future position on the Napoli board.
I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise, like, if you keep in mind all the things that he has done. I mean, I think he is also associated with some charity work or something like that.
He is, but I think a future position is a bit early to offer a 30-year-old.
I mean,
30, 31, wherever he is now. He's around 30,
there are clubs who are offering 23-year-olds the position of,
which we'll talk about selling their soul later on. But I think I think this one is especially premature. But I understand their position of why they wanted to do it. And he thought it was better for him to actually move to England. So he's come in, and he's probably going to fill in that position, that hole that has been left by Rudiger and Christensen.
Yeah.
So Christensen actually started off really well under Tuchel, and then kind of got injured, etc., and disappeared. Rudiger has been a constant mainstay over the last 2 years under Tuchel. He filled that position when he looked and kind of talked about himself as the biggest, well, not biggest, but top 5 centre-backs in at least the league, maybe the world. He established...
Not sure of the world, but in Syria...
I said maybe. Some people have their own thing. Maybe top 5 in the last couple of years, but...
Koulibaly is really reliable to have.
He has, but I think Rudiger...
And along with that, he's a leader. He leads from the back.
I think missing
Chelsea could do with.
But I think missing that Rudiger element will also be a big thing, because Rudiger can pass, he can run with the ball. He's also very good defensively, and I think he's established himself as a leading centre back. So I think
with Rudiger is like the things that you mentioned for sure. Along with that, like the dirty work that needs to be done at times.
Yeah, he does that.
You know what I mean?
He does that.
The tactical fouls, and stuff.
The tactical fouls.
Yeah.
He does that, and I think that's what they're gonna miss a little bit, because they play that 3 at the back, so they like to play Rudiger, Christensen, and obviously Thiago Silva. But I think we're going to see Koulibaly, like you said, he's going to start leading that team.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, because I think had they had that back 3, you might argue that there's going to be some sort of pace issue, but they could have had Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and Koulibaly. But it's going to be something that's going to give.
They're also reportedly back in the race for Jules Koundé.
Yeah. So I mean, there's 2 names, right, that they're in for: Koundé and Kimpembe.
The negotiations with Kimpembe are probably underway.
They are actually. So
Fabrizio reported, I guess.
Yeah, today. Fabrizio, everyone's favorite journalist, actually reported today that they submitted a bid somewhere around 45-50 million euros for Kimpembe.
Yeah.
Maestro Kimpembe, as the song goes. But PSG actually are looking for 60 to 65. I'm not sure about the valuation, but I think that's going to be something we can probably, when we get to next week's episode, I think a lot will have changed by then.
Yeah.
Especially for Chelsea. And I think the other one we talk about is Koundé. Kimpembe is obviously around 27, 28 now. Maybe 29.
Kimpembe, yeah.
He's somewhere between 27 and 29. I don't know.
Somewhere, no, yeah.
Yeah. And Koundé, on the other hand, is somewhere around 23, I think.
Yeah, Koundé is a bit younger, yeah.
Yeah, Koundé is 23. So I think he's a lot quicker on the ball than Kimpembe. So I think he definitely has that passing ability, where he can actually make a difference in that Chelsea team. I think it's just going to be interesting to see whether he decides to stay in Spain, to your club's rivals, whether he goes to Barcelona or whether he wants to make that move to Chelsea. Chelsea will obviously pay him the money.
I'd be bummed out if he joins Barcelona. Especially
I can
after
understand
whatever happened with him and Jordi Alba, if you remember that incident where he threw the ball at Jordi Alba. I mean, it was.
I mean, that happens all the time, right? You could talk about Sergio Ramos and Lionel Messi and their best teammates now.
Let's not talk about that. All right, it feels like a different reality altogether. Seeing both of those.
It's something else, but you could put things behind you as long as you respect the person. But yeah, I think he's got a choice. He's got a choice between Barcelona and Chelsea. So I think Koulibaly and Sterling are both very good deals, and obviously they made a bid for Rafinha, which was accepted by Chelsea, and we'll talk about it as well. But he had his heart set on Barcelona. So Chelsea are probably. It looks like they might be in for another winger. I don't know if there's anyone.
Well, there were even talks of Neymar coming in.
Neymar, yeah.
And
but I think that's probably not going to happen at some point.
Yeah, that's put to rest.
So we talked about Ziyech, talked about Lukaku. Quick shout
even
out.
Even Dembele was free.
Yeah, he had discussions with Dembele as well, but I think Dembele's obviously now signed his new contract. At Barcelona for 2 more years. But I think the other shout out we want to give, I love to give you a shout out to this guy, just for the fact he's done absolutely nothing at Chelsea. It's Danny Drinkwater. He came in after winning the league with Leicester. He's an ex-United player as well, actually. Came in, joined Chelsea. I think he played around a year and then was just shipped out every single year until they could get rid of him, or tried to get rid of him. I think he went to was it Burnley or Villa last year? One of them. But he went to.
I thought he was gone already.
No, they couldn't get rid of the guy. He's here actually talking about himself wasting time. Sorry, he was at Villa 3 years ago. Burnley as well. It feels like yesterday. He was at Reading last year. But he feels like he's wasting time, and obviously he was never going to go back to Leicester ever since we've heard about the Rebecca Vardy issues and how she sold his story to the press for money. So that's going to be a sore subject for him.
What was that?
There was a whole issue about there was a meme going around quite a few times about Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney. So Colleen Rooney had been putting stories and someone had been selling it to the press. So what she did was she then created a private story, and every time she just sent it to basically put it to one of her followers to see, to investigate who was selling her stories. And she then came out and found out it was Rebecca Vardy, apparently, because she posted something about having a flood in her house or something, and it came to the Sun the next morning. The Sun being obviously one of the worst newspapers I've ever seen. And the next thing you know, it became a meme at the time, which was just the ellipses, so the 3 dots, and it just said, "It's Rebecca Vardy," because that was a story at the time. They then went to court against each other. Rebecca Vardy, I think, was suing for defamation or something along those lines. And one of the things she actually admitted to was she said she didn't sell Colleen Rooney's story, but she actually admitted to selling Danny Drinkwater's drunk driving story. That Jamie Vardy sent her a text. He's like, "Oh, Danny just got caught drunk driving." She went and sold it to the press.
Wow.
So that's going to be a sore topic for them. I think the last 2 names, by the way, we should touch on from Chelsea.
Also, while we're at it, along with Drinkwater, there's also one name I can't forget really. Ross Barkley. He's still there.
He is is still there as far as I remember, because he looks like he might be coming back into the fold a little bit. He's still only 28.
Oh.
He's got time.
Bro.
He's 28. He played 6 games last year, to be honest. You know, he played quite a bit actually under Lampard. Played about 20 games under Lampard, and played quite a lot under Sarri as well. Can't get a game really under Tuchel. Sorry, he was the one last year who went to Villa, not Danny Drinkwater. So he played quite a bit at Villa.
Yes.
Played quite a bit, but I don't know if he's going to go anywhere, because he's seems to be stuck in a rut, and I don't think his career is taking off anywhere at this point. You know, it's sad because he had a big...
Yeah, it's highly unlikely. Yeah.
He had a big career. He's already got 33 England caps. He did really well at Everton. So I don't really know. I think this is probably a space to watch. He might end up making it back into the squad, just because of the fact that... No, because Conte's slowing down. I think obviously you've got... they've got Kovacic and Jorginho. Jorginho, too many people don't rate. Some, including myself. Loftus-Cheek managed to make it back from the cold. So Barkley might...
It's bizarre how Jorginho like ended up in the top 3 of the Ballon d'Or last season. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think they could do with some midfield reinforcements, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. I think that's probably going to be a space to watch and then see later on. We'll probably do an episode on washed up footballers at this point. And the two names that I think we should briefly touch on is Azpilicueta and Alonso. Azpilicueta obviously is looking at joining Barcelona. Alonso as well, actually. So Azpilicueta is obviously the club captain. He's had a he's had a fantastic career at Chelsea.
That's the deal with Chelsea, right? Like if they lose Azpilicueta, they would lose a leader figure.
But I think Thiago Silva is the natural option.
Thiago Silva is there for sure.
Yeah, Thiago Silva becomes a natural option, and I don't think Azpilicueta, he plays in the back three. He can't really play as a right back. But Azpilicueta wants to, he's being offered a 2-year contract by Barcelona. Barcelona seem to be signing.
I think I see that going through, to be honest.
I can see that going through. I think Chelsea are offering him 1, or there's something along the lines, and I think you might want to go back to Spain at this point, because Barcelona seem to be having an exciting project. And then the other person we talked about was Marcos Alonso. Obviously not one to put him behind the wheel, but Alonso has a history in Spain, right? So he, like you said, he's from your club. He's got the Real Madrid academy. His history also with Barcelona and Real Madrid. His grandfather was actually in the team that won the 5 Champions League back-to-back for Real Madrid. And his father was actually played for Barcelona and lost the 1986 Champions League final to Steaua Bucharest. So I can see that one going through, and he's actually pushing on, but it's about agreeing a fee, and I think that's going to be the one issue, because he's got 1 year left, and Chelsea are probably looking at the fees that Barcelona are paying for 1 year, and other teams as well, and they're probably going to look for the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think quickly moving on, let's go on to Liverpool. Not a fan at all, but I think the biggest signing is obviously
Darwin
Núñez. There's possibly some weightage. Let's see to how he turns out this year. There's a chance he might just become the Uruguayan Andy Carroll.
That's the United fan inside you speak. For sure.
I mean, he didn't look very great in pre-season.
I think, know, but it's just one game.
I know. But obviously, I'm gonna love to poke fun at him because that's the fan in me. But he's what, 80 million. It's quite expensive. Biggest signing, I think. Second biggest signing for Liverpool history.
Biggest, I think.
Biggest, yeah. Because I couldn't remember if it's 80 million euros or 80 million
80
pounds.
Fixed and then 100 through add-ons.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so then it becomes the biggest. No, apparently it's second. According to the
With-
transfer market, it's second.
It's Klopp though. I I tend to believe in their signings. Like, you know how they have the Moneyball approach,
Yeah.
heavily based on data and stuff. So with them, I tend to
I think he's
I tend to believe on whatever that they make.
see, he's definitely studied Nunez, and I think everyone, Nunez's stock went up
Yeah.
actually from playing against Liverpool, where he ran them ragged. But I think one thing is, he's very much a similar mold, size-wise, to Haaland, but I think the one thing that Haaland has over him for sure is touch and mobility.
Haaland is a better finisher. Haaland is more of a poacher than Nunez.
I think he's also, to be honest, I think he's also more...
Nunez,
No, but I think he's also
Nunez-
he's more versatile. Not versatile, sorry. He's more mobile.
mobile, and in case of Nunez, I think his off the ball work is,
It
better
leaves a bit to be
level.
lacking, right? So I think that's where we're going to see that thing, because they've obviously lost Mane, right? So Mane, they
Yeah.
used to play. There's a version of front threes. They've got Mane, Jota, and Salah, or Mane, Firmino, Salah, and those guys were
And
very
more
fluid.
recently, Luis Diaz.
Luis Diaz as
Mane
well.
and
So a lot of
Salah.
these guys are very fluid, right?
Luis Diaz is heck of a sign.
He's a heck of a signing. Very good signing. Very, very good signing. Apparently we were linked with him as well, so it bums me out that we never signed him.
You guys were even linked with Nunez last
We
year.
were, but I think I'm okay with not having Nunez at this point. Because we don't want 80 million to
Yeah.
come and sit on the bench. But yeah, I think the thing that we have here is, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to fit in, because is he really going to hold his position? Because we saw a lot of times with Liverpool's front three, especially with Mane. Mane used to play sometimes as centre forward, especially towards the end of the season with Diaz and
Eventually,
Salah.
like with the coming of Luis Diaz, Mane's position as a centre forward sort of became permanent.
it became permanent. But I think even before that, you saw that Klopp used to play very dynamically in the forward three. They're very fluid. You could have
Yeah.
Salah cutting in. Salah could also, jump into centre forward. He had the physicality for it.
Yeah.
So did Mane.
And the fact that Salah being a winger remains the leading goal scorer speaks for itself.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
that's what we're going to see with Nunez, right? Because Nunez, is he going to do the off the ball work that Klopp needs? Is he really going to be able to adapt to the physicality?
That's what I was telling. Like his off the ball work is
Yeah, and
makes
I
sense.
think how is he going to do with this
fit into
fluid?
the system.
Because I don't see him going out to the wings to collect the ball or to do the work that Firmino does or Jota does.
Nor do I.
So I think that's going to be interesting. Carvalho's obviously come in as another option as well, as backup.
Yeah, haven't
And-
seen anything. Oh,
He looks pretty good, but he's young. He's 19. I don't think he's going to start, but he's going to get options. Because obviously they've lost Origi as well. They lost Minamino. So, you lost three
yeah,
forward players.
Minamino. Yeah.
You lost three forward players in Mane, Origi, Minamino.
With Minamino, they lost a good squad player to me.
He's all right. I think Carvalho can probably do more, to be honest. Carvalho is actually, I think, going to have more of an impact, and I think he's got a brighter future than Minamino did.
Yeah.
I think Origi obviously is just legendary for the goals he scores. And
Yeah.
so I think we talked about the Nunez thing. If you had a
And
prediction
also,
right
as
now,
a Madrid fan, I'll forever remain indebted to him for whatever he did against Barcelona in that infamous 4-0 victory.
what corner taken quickly? Corner taken
Yeah.
quickly, Origi!
Sorry.
You love to hear it. No, I mean, okay, here's one question. One word, and I'll probably ask you why. Who's going to score more goals, Haaland or Nunez?
Haaland, without a doubt.
How many do you think Haaland's going to get this year?
I would say somewhere around 35
35?
in all competitions.
No, Premier League, just Premier League.
Prem, I guess, I think he'll cross the 25.
You think he'll cross 25?
I think he will. Yeah, I think.
So do you think he's going to get Golden Boot?
He'll be in the running alongside.
Well, if you're going over 25, right? So Salah has done 1 year or 2 years, I think, over 25. Son obviously tied with him last year for 23.
Yeah. I mean, United, if they get the players that they want, players who can feed Ronaldo with the balls, then we can also see Ronaldo for the Golden Boot as well.
25 maybe. So I think we could touch on that at the end. But I think you've got a choice between Son, you've got Kane, you've got Haaland, you've got Nunez, you've got Ronaldo. That's probably the big goal.
I tend to be a bit more optimistic in case of Haaland compared to maybe others. I'm very optimistic.
I think Nunez will get chances, but I think Haaland will get more chances per game.
Yeah.
So Nunez, I can see.
I mean, Liverpool already have Jota as a centre forward.
Do you think he starts over Jota though? Jota off the ball work is much better.
I think Jota starts. Nunez can come off the bench.
80 million off the bench.
I think so. Or maybe they can have a rotation policy where Jota starts some of the games and Nunez probably the others.
Okay, interesting. I think Nunez will start the big games. I don't think he's going to be the one that's going to be dropped. Because I think the one thing that Jota has is versatility. He can play on the wings too.
Yeah.
So you can
and then they have Firmino as well. God, we almost forgot Firmino.
Yeah, forgotten man, honestly, going from being one of the best defensive striker in the world to being this guy. But yeah, I think that's going to see.
I like the guy.
Where do you... I mean, we'll do the
he
top...
doesn't complain and all. Yeah.
Let's do the top 6 and we'll come to your conclusions of where you think everyone's going to finish. So I think let's talk very quickly about Spurs. I don't really want to spend too much time on them because they've done some very decent business. They've made... I'm just going to go through
decent.
5 signings actually. So Richarlison, Perisic, Bissouma, Forster, and they're about to sign Jed Spence.
They have signed him already, I guess.
Oh, have they signed him already?
The medical.
Yeah, it's the medical. I mean, once it becomes official. But Richarlison, 60 million. What do you think?
To be honest, that's the only signing that I couldn't make any sense of. I mean, if they wanted a backup to Kane, they should have looked for some younger player, up-and-coming player.
He's 25, Richarlison.
Still, he's hitting his prime years gradually.
Could they play as 2? I mean, then where do you put Son?
Son and Kane makes sense, though.
No, Son and Kane make sense, but I was about to say, what if you play Richarlison and Kane as a 2, but then where do you put Son?
Exactly.
I mean, do you see him possibly changing his system? Maybe a 4-4-2 or a...
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, Richarlison as a substitute couldn't make any sense.
I mean, he's a phenomenal striker, but I don't see 60 million sitting on the bench.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's not Ndombele.
Yeah.
Who I think is an absolute shocking signing, but that's another matter. Perisic has basically come in to play.
Perisic is a good signing, very good signing. On
a free as well, to basically come to sit on the left as a left wing back. So I think that's going to be a very good signing. Jed Spence has come in as a right back. So actually, very touchy, very quickly. One second, very quickly.
Was pretty much set last year. They needed some Cummings, which probably they have got.
No, but I think the one thing that we can talk very quickly about when we talk about Perisic, just backtracking, is the fact that this is putting a lot of pressure now on Sergio Reguilon. Because I think Reguilon is on his way out. He's been put up for sale, and I think they've already started talks with Sevilla. And Sevilla are looking at bringing him back. So that's going to be an interesting thing, especially for a guy who was so highly rated before. It seems Conte does not love him at all.
Reguilon, I mean, even like when he left for Spurs, I was a bit disappointed. Like, I really wanted him to succeed at Madrid, and I mean that's the case with almost all the fullbacks that Madrid has been producing for the last 2 or 3 years. Like Hakimi, Reguilon, and most recently Miguel. I don't know if you know him or have.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. I had hopes from Reguilon, to be honest.
I mean, Reguilon's actually a Real Madrid signing, isn't he? So, and they have that option to buy him back as well.
Yeah, I think we have.
And there's also a sign-on fee. Sell-on fee.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I don't think we are getting it back.
No, 100% not. 100% not. I don't think he's probably worth it. I don't think he's had that influence under Conte that Conte wanted, and I think that's why he's got Perisic in. Jed Spence, I think, is just going to be an up and coming player. I think he's going to be kind of in.
Who's the right back as of now?
So right now, it's actually Matt Doherty.
Doherty.
Yeah.
Doherty, yeah.
He's been playing really well, and I think he's shoe in to start. I don't think Emerson Royale is going to start anytime soon. I think he's kind of finished. And he's also got he's got very solid two options now per left back and right back. He's got Perisic and he's got Perisic and Sessegnon on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Sessegnon is obviously still young, up and coming, good player. Because I think Reguilon's gone, so I'm assuming that Reguilon's gone. He's also got Ben Davis. He's also got Ben Davis. Ben Davis, who can also play centre back. And then for right, he's got Matt Doherty. He's got Emerson Royale. We'll see how Emerson Royale pans out. And he's now got Jed Spence.
In defense, they've Romero, Davis, and right in front of them they have Skip.
I mean, he plays three, right? So he's got Eric Dyer, he's got Romero, he's got the option of Joe Rodon, but he's not going to play. He's got the option of Tanganga. He's got the option of Longley now as well. Good signing.
Yeah, Longley.
Good signing TBC, actually, because Longley at Sevilla was a different animal. Longley started really well at Barcelona, but then went downhill very quickly.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Davinson Sanchez, I think he's gone, to be honest. So he's got options, and I think in front of him he'll play a two. He's got kind of not a Dombele. He's got Bentancur. He's got Bissouma. He signed now for 30 million.
Bissouma's a good signing.
Bissouma's a very good signing.
I mean, United could have gone for him, to be honest.
Don't give me that FOMO right now.
I mean, they got him for 25. That's a steal. That's
rising. Yeah, rising to 30, isn't it? So it's okay. It's good. And I think he's now brought depth to the squad because he's got Bentancur, he's got Bissouma, and Dombele's gone. Sarr is like a youth player. Lo Celso is going to go. Winks will probably go, but he's got Højbjerg as well. And then you got your friend.
Lo Celso, yeah.
Lo Celso will go.
Celso was a good player.
He'll go. He doesn't wait.
Brian Gill is also joining Valencia.
Brian Gill. On loan, right?
No, it's permanent, I guess.
Oh, is it already?
I think so. I mean, I don't remember properly, but yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. And then I think we've also got, then obviously your forwards, you got Son, Richarlison, Kane, Kulusevski, and Lucas Moura. And Lucas Moura. That is some depth.
Yeah.
So I think I'll ask you this at the end, as I keep saying this, but your top 6 predictions later on. Let's quickly go to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Arsenal have been making big moves this summer. So they're in for, obviously, agreed Zinchenko 30 million, we talked about earlier. Jesus 45 million. I think Jesus is probably going to transform.
That's a great signing.
I think. Do you not feel he was a little bit hard done by Pep?
I think so.
You think so?
He served his time quite well at City, to be honest.
No, he served his time, but do you not think he was a little bit unfair? Because I mean, he's going to play as a 9 at Arsenal, right? They're going to probably have Saka on.
I mean, that's the thing with Pep's system.
No, but he came in as a 9, but he played him on the wings.
Yeah, he was supposed to. I mean, he had probably the biggest shoes to fill in. Aguero, he came as a replacement for Aguero. So, I mean, he's done good. I mean,
his output, honestly, at City.
Statistically, you might say that he's been underwhelming, but
I mean, he scored 95 goals at City.
Yeah, so
I mean, he's been there 6 years, right? 5.5 really.
Yeah.
I say 5.5 because the first season he only played 10 games.
Yeah.
Okay, he's averaging around 11 goals a season.
Yeah.
Which is not bad considering he's
But-
not been playing as a centre
But
forward.
I mean, his off the ball work again is what sets him apart, I guess, compared to other centre forwards.
Oh, he does
He-
so much off the ball.
He
So much off the ball.
He has great work rate.
Super work rate. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but if I was an Arsenal fan, and I think a lot of them have had this reaction, is sit there and think, wow.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
come from
And-
sitting there with Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Nicolas Pepe as their front three, to they're now looking at a bit more dynamic team in Saka,
Yeah.
Martinelli possibly on the left.
I mean, to be honest, when Arteta took over, I don't know if I have said this before. I really don't support any Premier League club as such, but I look out for Arsenal time and again. I find them interesting, and especially the direction that Arteta is going towards, with all the youth players that he's, building his project around. I would say give this squad 2 or 3 more years, and they can be title contenders.
You think so? I mean, he's definitely brought in a lot of youth. I think he's kind of he's kind of trying to change the outlook of the team. He's come from a team where he had, like we said, that front three of
What's his front three now? Like, you've got Saka on the right,
I think Saka on the right.
Jesus
I
through
think,
the middle, and Martinelli.
yeah, I think Martinelli on the left. But then you've also got the fact that but you've also got Smith Rowe who can play on the left.
Smith Rowe, and
Smith Rowe plays on the left.
Odegaard
As well.
were supposed to be.
No, but he can play on the
behind the
left as
scenes
well,
position.
right? So I think he
Smith-
brings another
yeah.
option.
He's got versatile players, to be honest.
And I think
that's a good thing.
I think that's what's going to change. Even if Martinelli.
What Arsenal need is a proper central midfielder. As we saw like last season with Partey injured,
Yeah.
they struggled big time. El Nini is really not.
And Lenny's got his contract extension, but I don't think he's going to do it. But I think this is where we can talk about the fact that they're signing Zinchenko. I mean, if Tierney's free, Zinchenko can also sit. He has actually he plays central midfield for Ukraine sometimes as well.
I'm really not sure
how
well that's going to
he
work
plays as left central midfielder. He can also play a little bit deeper. They've obviously got Elneny. We're also talking about the fact that they are linked to Milinkovic-Savic.
Really? The last midfielder that they were linked to, or they are still linked to, is Tielemans.
Tielemans as well. So Tielemans, Milinkovic-Savic, and Zinchenko are the 3 names. Milinkovic-Savic, I think, is going to be ruled out, and I think it has already for the fact that they're looking at 55 million for him, for a 27-year-old, which is quite expensive at the same point. When they can get Zinchenko for 30, Tielemans is probably going to be about 30 as well, and he's already adapted to the Premier League. And he's also a person who wants to join Arsenal. More importantly, I think there's a quote doing the rounds at the moment about him having the choice between United and Arsenal, and he said, "I would always choose Arsenal." So,
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said that. Screw him. But anyway,
Nice.
more importantly, Vitinha also comes in. Vitinha can also sit in that midfield.
Vitinha.
Vitinha has also got a very. I don't know enough about him, like watching him, but a lot of people in the league who watch the league have said he's very good. I don't know if that's just the hype. I think we'll probably have to see a little bit of him in pre-season, and kind of how he. Did I say Vitinha? Crap! I did not mean Vitinha.
Yeah.
I meant. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. I meant Fabio Vieira.
Fabio Vieira. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waffling.
That's what I think.
Fabio Vieira was the guy I meant. I don't know why I wrote Vitinha. Sorry, my notes are all over the place. And you lost Guendouzi, they lost Lacazette. Xhaka was also a bit of a he's kind of walking the tightrope. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He seems to be his future seems to be up in the air every summer. Every single summer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't know what it is about him. So sorry about it.
I don't know.
I don't know why I wrote Vitinha, but yeah, Fabio Vieira. Sorry, somebody said that Fabio Vieira is an absolute baller. Vitinha is also a baller, but he's at PSG, and I think we'll probably talk about it in the next episode. But Fabio Vieira is supposedly a baller. I don't know enough about him, but he's also an attacking. He's also an attacking midfielder, so I think we're probably going to see something from him. I think Sambi Lokonga might head out on loan.
Oh, another player that I would like to mention is Lem Saliba.
Saliba.
Yeah. I think he's a really good player, and they should keep him.
I think the plan is to do that, but do you think he's going to start?
I think he's a starting...
They play 4. Okay, so they play 4 at the back. So Tomiyasu plays a right back. Left back, you've got Tierney, possibly Zinchenko. Okay?
Yep.
You've got two centre backs. So your choices for the 2 centre backs, you've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel. I think Gabriel starts, to be honest. You've
Gabriel
and the other one person you've got is Ben White.
Ben White has been reliable. I mean, I would pick Saliba over Gabriel.
Saliba over Gabriel. I honestly think, I mean, personally, for me, I'm not an Arsenal fan, I think. But I think for me, I think Gabriel and Saliba will start. But I don't know. It's one of those where Ben White kind of has the reputation.
For the record, with Ramsdale, they've probably got the best English keeper at the moment. Probably.
Ahead of who? Yeah, probably. I think they have. Because Leno's on his way to Fulham. But I think, they've now got their 3 Gabriels in Martinelli, Jesus, and Magalhaes, the defender.
That picture that they shared of the 3 Gabriels.
Yeah. But I think that's probably where we see this, and I think they've got some decent squad depth now with Eddie Nketiah obviously hitting the form that he did. That's back up to Jesus.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to have a bad season. I think they are still... I don't know. I think they've got their left back. They've got Hector Bellerin is back. But I think...
Yeah. Hector Bellerin, damn.
I think he wants to go again, but I think they need kind of somebody... I don't think Cedric is going to cut it, but they probably need somebody else with Tomiyasu on the right. And I think they somehow or other need to get rid of Nicolas Pepe.
For sure, man.
Nicolas Pepe, and the other one, the name that's been popping around for the last day or so, and I think Arsenal fans dislike him and probably don't rate him either, is Nuno Tavares.
He's been linked to a move away from Arsenal.
Yeah, he's been linked with Marseille, but Marseille don't really want him.
Yeah, Marseille.
They don't really want him, so I think he's got this point where he's going to be their choice left back. So I mean, they don't look too bad. I think they've got a very decent chance of. Yeah, Odegaard is obviously their captain. Tierney's vice captain.
Oh man.
There's actually it's interesting.
Odegaard.
Right? You look at their captains.
I really miss Odegaard.
So they've got Odegaard as captain, Tierney as vice captain.
He could have been a great player.
Not for you guys, but for these guys, yeah. Bellerin is third captain.
I mean, we don't have his position. Team.
You do, but you just I don't know. It's a complicated matter. We'll go for the next one. He's got Bellerin as third captain, Xhaka as fourth captain, Holding as fifth captain. So there's a lot of.
I think Bellerin should be the second captain or the first captain.
Bellerin wants to leave, so I don't know why he's vice captain. Or why third captain.
I was hearing that he's asked to terminate his contract.
He's desperate to leave. He's ready to go. But I think they're gonna have a decent season. I think they'll be alright, to be honest. Moving on.
I like Bellerin. He's a nice player, great player.
Bellerin.
Good. Yeah,
He's
good.
bang average,
Like,
mate.
I like.
He's bang average.
I mean, he's a great dude.
Yeah, no comments.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
moving on to the best team in the world, obviously. And my team.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are obviously not the best team right now, but overall, I'd like to say we're the best club. But that's obviously not going to be true. I've spent so much time watching this team over the last 20 plus years, going to hundreds of games, and I think we're probably at one of our lowest points, coming in as another rebuild, and I think this is where we have to devote a whole episode, and hopefully I can get a couple of United fans as a panel where we can talk about this. But what is wrong with Manchester United? But more importantly, there's some fresh faces coming in. I think this is right pronunciation. Malacia, the right back.
I mean, with United,
The left back, sorry.
we can hardly say anything that hasn't already.
Sorry, say that again?
I mean, with United, we can hardly say anything that hasn't already been said. Already been talked about in other podcasts.
I think it's going to be more about airing some of these views, because I think everyone has conflicting views, especially on our centre backs, on our left backs, and our midfield, which is never-ending. So I think we will be interesting to get a couple of views on that, which we'll do in another episode later. But I think the like we said, the fresh faces we've got in is that the left back, Malacia, which is probably led to a bit of a stacking for our left backs.
Yeah.
We've now theoretically
had Luke Shaw.
We theoretically got 3 to 4. We've got Luke Shaw. You got Alex Telles.
That is.
You've now got Malacia. And theoretically, I think he should be sold. But you've got Brandon Williams as well, our right-footed left back.
Yeah.
So if you had the choice, based on what you've seen, forget Brandon Williams, who are you selling? Luke Shaw?
I haven't seen much of Malacia.
No. Malacia, obviously, he can't be sold. He's just been signed. Who are you selling? Luke Shaw or Alex Telles?
Oh, Alex Telles, man.
Alex Telles.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because Luke Shaw is better left back overall.
Luke Shaw's better. I think Telles has the better delivery, but I think Luke Shaw is better defensively, to be honest. And I think when he peaks, he's alright. So I think Telles is probably going to be on his way out. Maybe this summer, maybe next summer. You never know, he might be put into a different position, but that's interesting. You got Eriksen, Christian Eriksen in on a free, which I think is a fantastic signing for us. He's coming in basically as a new Mata. Mata's obviously on a free, somehow going to...
It remains to be seen how Eriksen fits into the system of Ten Hag.
See, I think he's going to play a very similar position to Bruno.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This is where I think
Bruno backup.
But I think there's going to be another stack up there, because I think these guys all play the same position. Eriksen, Bruno, and Donny van der Beek. They all play that 10.
Van der Beek has been sort of a letdown.
I don't think he's had the right opportunities. I don't think he's been given the chance. So I wonder if he's going to be given the chance to actually express himself under Ten Hag. And it's just a question of who plays when. Because Bruno seems to be undroppable. Eriksen has quality all around. He oozes quality. I think he's going to be the difference between, I think for me, if I'm playing a team that sits back, I think bringing on that second attacking midfielder in Bruno and Eriksen, who can make that pass to unlock that defense, I think that's where he's going to be key. And also in like the Europa League, etc. Because I think realistically, we should be really making a charge for that Europa League this year.
I prefer not to say any further.
No, I think we should. We 100% should. It's not exactly the most... It's tough, but I think we should give ourselves a chance, and we should be really looking to win every single trophy. It's not even a case of Mickey Mouse Cup and the League Cup. We have to make an effort to sign everyone, to
Yeah.
win everything. Because we just need trophies at this point.
Exactly.
And the other one we
That's
signed
the
today.
thing.
Sorry, and the other one we signed today, which is probably
Lisandro Martinez.
there we go. I think we've probably overpaid, 55 million all in. But you've got a baller. He can play centre back. He can apparently play CDM as well, and he also plays a little bit of left back apparently. Don't think we need him at left back, but centre back and a little bit of central defensive midfielder. I don't think it's going to create that. It's going to fill that void of actually getting a defensive midfielder, because I know the fans right now, we were crying out for Kamara, who's gone to Villa on a free, and now the name that seems to be linked with is on every fan's lips at the moment is Sangare, and it's really a case of, are United going to make that move? Because the other big signing,
Weren't you guys after Declan Rice at some point?
no, we were, but 120 million is not enough. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's too much. Sorry, it's not worth it. But I think the one, in the interest of time, we have to probably move this on, is basically just to say that Frankie De Jong has had he's had an offer accepted. I don't think Martinez is going to play that CDM position. I don't think Frankie De Jong is going to play that position. Frankie De Jong has kind of iterated multiple times that he's not really interested in coming. I feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point, really chasing the guy who doesn't really want to join us. So it's not really worth it.
Probably. Even I think the same.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I mean, it could be so that you ruin your remaining of the window just chasing this guy and
I think it's going to be as United fans will know, the wish list.
Addressing other areas. Because you should be addressing other areas.
I think he's going to become the new Wesley Sneijder for us. So for if you don't know, for many years back in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, we chased Wesley Sneijder every summer. He had no interest in joining us, and we chased him every year. So I think this is going to be a very similar situation all over again, which is going to be a bit frustrating and I think very, very annoying in general. A very quick thing on kind of the...
Say what you will, but nothing comes close, not even close, to what Mbappe did to us.
We'll save that for the next one. We'll save that for the next one because I think there's a lot of fresh wounds in there. But yeah. I think then in terms of outgoings, we've had a massive clear out this summer. Got rid of Andreas Pereira, Cavani, Mata, Matic, Pogba. Henderson's gone on loan. So I think those guys were all needed to go. Pogba especially, I'm not a big fan of Pogba as such. I think he's good on the ball, but I don't think he can function as one of two in a two. He needs that person sitting behind him, whether it's Kante. He has Griezmann also tracking for him or covering him. So I think he doesn't really fit the style. People will say, oh, he's not in his right position. If that is the case, and you're going to comment on this, tell us, what do you think is his right position? Because he's played as a CM, he's played as a cam, as an attacking midfielder. He's also played on the left. But all the arguments seem to say is he's not played in the right position, but nobody seems to be able to nail down.
I think he's not at all versatile.
No, he says something about playing as an LCM, left centre midfielder.
For sure, like the thing that you just said, like, you need someone else to cover up things.
He seems to talk. He seems to talk about playing as a left central midfielder.
Yeah, like he can pull the passes and all, like put through the balls and all, but you just need someone else to
clean him up,
do
clean up for him.
Cleaning up thing, yeah.
Which I don't think we have, and I don't think we should really have to, because I think if he really wants to play as a cam, then he should play as a cam.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like at United, he was tried as one of the pivots as a cam.
He didn't work out. I don't think
Didn't work out at any of those
he had
positions.
one
Yeah.
good game this season, which was the Leeds game, first game of the season. He got his 4 assists, and I think that created a false hope for most fans. But I don't think he was all that. So I think, like I said, if you're listening to this and you don't agree, put some thoughts into the comments. Let's actually see where you think his best position is, because clearly there's something that everyone seems to be missing, and people seem to think they know what it is, but what is it? I think Ronaldo
With the national team, he's been phenomenal,
but I think that's,
but
like I
this was-
said, that's the Conte, right? That's Conte and Griezmann.
Griezmann and lately Tchouaméni, because like Deschamps seems to have faith on Tchouaméni, and so he starts Pogba alongside Tchouaméni. So yeah,
Conte's been injured, hasn't he?
injured, inconsistent, and all of that stuff.
But I think when you look at that, I think he needs that person to do his dirty work. I don't think United should have to rely on that, because I think when we look at I could probably go into an impassioned rant about this, but I probably do this in another episode. United have always had world class midfielders, like not this era post Ferguson, but that Ferguson era.
Yeah.
Sitting there you can sit there with 2 midfielders in Paul Scholes and Roy Keane, 2 of the best midfielders of their generation, and they can do the defensive work, but they can also do the attacking work. Roy Keane also sits, but he can score. Paul Scholes actually started as a cam. He's actually naturally a cam. He pushed him back because he could pass well, and he became one of the best passers of the generation. But that's what I say. I don't even think Pogba's the best player at Manchester United in history. So I think he overrates himself. that's why Pogba ran for another day.
This makes me wonder how much of a compromise that does Deschamps make with the national team, just to
I think
have Pogba his game.
But do you not think it's Griezmann covering? I think Griezmann's willingness to run back helps.
Griezmann covers a lot of ground, man.
I think Griezmann making that effort.
That's the thing, right? Like, and I mean, so I've been following Deschamps and international team post World Cup. Like, so one thing that I've noticed is they haven't yet found the system which, like, so the thing is, the system that Deschamps applies currently, that suits, like, it's best worked out when you have someone like Giroud up front rather than Benzema.
But I think Benzema he puts in the yards. He puts in the hard work.
He does, but it's not about that. Like, so if you've got Griezmann and Kante in the same team, like, you have your ground covered, to be honest. So you need someone to put in those balls and someone at the receiving end just to finish it off, right? So, I mean, the target man, quote unquote. So I think for that matter, I think Giroud would be a better fit into that system rather than Benzema. With Benzema, you have to change your system, and which Deschamps, I think, has been reluctant to do, or it hasn't crossed his mind yet. I don't know what happened, because I don't know if you remember the recent Nation League games that happened.
Yeah.
France couldn't even register a victory. So yeah, and they are the defending world champion.
Yep, fair enough. I think that's that. I think we'll have to see on that. I think that's gonna be probably a national teams episode at some point. Probably in a break or something, because I'm actually off to the World Cup this year as well.
Are you?
Yeah. I got tickets to at least 4 games, maybe 5 or 6 in total.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm in the area, so I'm around because I'm going to a friend's wedding later on, and I'm also just in Dubai as well for some stuff. So I decided to hop over because I've got a friend over in Qatar and I'm off to some of the games.
I see.
Yeah,
That's
going to see the Samba boys, Brazil, going to see
yeah.
Netherlands, etc. And I think the last one just to touch on, there's two actually we should talk about. One is Wan Bisaka, who does not seem to want to leave. No matter how much we try to get rid of him, he seems to think he has a future at Manchester United, even though I think Dallo is the more
Also,
appreciated.
before we talk about Wan Bissaka, I would like to ask you about Eric Bailly. What do you think of him, and where do you see, like,
I think
you see
Eric Bailly has the
at the
physical
club?
characteristics, right? He has the physical characteristics to be a top class centre back. He's strong, he's good on the ball at times, but
Yeah,
he can put in a good tackle. But the problem is the time when he doesn't put in a good tackle. He's very erratic, right? I think he panics or he doesn't think what he's about to do before he does it. He's not as calm and composed as, say, and he didn't have the best year, but say a Varane. Varane is obviously a world class player. I think there is argument that he didn't have a great season. I also did argue he's a great player, but I did think Sergio Ramos made him look better than he is. But that's just me.
that's what we've been saying. Like,
I've said it for years.
I
I think
mean,
Sergio Ramos is one of the best defenders of centre backs of this generation. But
Varane needs someone like Ramos to, you know,
he needs a leader.
make it work.
He needs a leader.
Yeah.
I don't think Harry Maguire is that. But I don't. To touch on your point, to answer your question about Bailly, I think Bailly is not going to have that future at United because I think now that Lisandro Martinez has come in, he's a very short centre back. But I think he's got Lindelof. He's actually put on the transfer list along with Axel Tuanzebe. So Tuanzebe and Bailly. I don't think he's going to have that future at Manchester United, and he's actually looking to possibly move away because the one thing he's always asked for is guaranteed first team football or a lot of regular first team football, which he's not going to get unless we play a back three. So I think probably for in the interest of all parties, I think it's probably better he does leave. And I think we could probably net somewhere around 15-20 million for him.
All right.
Because he's not old. He's still got characteristics. And I think the other guy we need to get rid of, as much as I love the story about him, is Phil Jones. He needs to go.
Oh man.
He just seems to hanging on through 6 managers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he gets injured. It's like getting a sick leave and then just sticking around.
I mean, fact that he was able to make at least one appearance last season in itself quite remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on quickly because I know we have to cut this soon. Just because of time is.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention Bergwijn's gone at Spurs, 30 million, which I think is probably the right sensible answer.
Yeah.
West Ham are.
I mean, Tottenham overall with the incomings and outgoings, they've been pretty smart.
I think they have. I think West Ham are making some good signings. They've made Areola. I think he's called Agard. I don't know how to pronounce his name. They're about to sign Onana, the midfielder, possibly around 35 million. And they're also making bids for Scamacca and Broha. I think Broha is going to.
I think Chelsea should have at least tested Broha.
It doesn't look like they're going to accept it. Based on Tuchel's comments, it doesn't look like they're going to accept it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably going to be something to have a look at in the interesting months. Scamacca's obviously got a lot of suitors behind him. Arsenal obviously interested. PSG are interested. Some people seem to be linking him to United. So I think that's going to be something to see and just look at it in the future. And really, I think aside from that, people will have a look and say, why have we not talked about Ronaldo, Harry Maguire, etc. Probably did spend a bit of time on City, and we will want to cover the other clubs in probably another episode, along with Newcastle, Villa, who I think have both bought very smartly. I think that's probably an episode for another episode. But I think the question here then, so far, based on what you've seen, Happy, what's your idea? What's your thoughts on top six? Who's going to be top six in which order, and who's your top scorer? So Golden Boot, most assists, let's say, and who is going to? Are any of the top six managers going to be sacked this year?
All right. So I'm starting off with the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
But number 1, you have Man City.
Okay.
2, Liverpool. 3, Chelsea.
Yep.
4, Spurs. 5, Arsenal. And 6, United. So it's basically the same as this. Or maybe I would say 3 Spurs, 4 Chelsea.
Really?
Yeah. I could see Spurs performing well.
Okay, and Golden Boot?
Given that Conte has got his signing.
He has, and I think that's probably going to be his biggest thing, especially with the Son Kane partnership, which is one of the best. I think it's the 3rd highest combinations in Premier League history.
Yeah.
So,
and
Golden Boot.
The Son Kane partnership is only bettered by Vinny and Benzema in the whole of. Okay, that's the fan side.
That's the fan in you, but
never mind.
Golden Boot.
Golden Boot. I would say either Haaland or Salah, or the both of them.
Haaland or Salah.
Yeah.
So do you not think Kane came back really well last year? Considering he didn't score, he scored 2 goals, 1 goal up until November, and he ended up with 17 goals. I know he is the penalty taker.
Also, you know what? I mean, the World Cup falling mid-season has got to play a big part in terms of player performance after the tournament.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So would you argue, and I think this is because we are running out of time. I think would you 1:40. I think would you argue the fact that Salah is used to mid-season breaks with the AFCON is probably going to give him that edge?
I would like to think so, but then again, there's the thing of losing.
I mean, obviously he's not going to the World Cup, but the fact that he's used to the break, well, not the break, but having that gap, is that gonna help him?
There are two sides. He'll get time to recover, but also it can affect his momentum going forward. So that remains to be seen. And the third question that you asked was, do I envision any of the top 6 managers to be sacked? I really don't think so. Because Pep and Klopp are going nowhere for at least the next 4 or 5 years, provided Pep agrees to extend his contract. Because Klopp has already done his part. Ten Hag has just arrived, so no. Arteta, probably not. Tuchel, I would have said if Roman would have been still the owner, but I'm of the feeling that Todd Bowley trusts Phil a lot, and
Tuchel, right?
Probably would trust him a lot. No, I don't see anyone getting sacked.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. So you say nobody in the top 6 is going to get sacked?
No.
I probably agree with that. I think your top 6 is probably fair. I want to say we'd make top 4. I think Chelsea is probably the biggest risk of dropping out of that top 4.
Yeah.
And I think Spurs very much rise.
I think the 3rd and the 4th place will be between Spurs and Chelsea, to be honest. It will be a close one.
I think third and 4th is actually open to Arsenal as well.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal is open to that too, because I think they're signing pretty well, I don't think we have
Yeah.
enough strength and depth at the moment to actually go into
No.
that. So
United, no.
no,
I
so I
don't
don't think we
see them
have, and I think that's
challenging.
probably fair. I think we might push fifth if we have a really good season, but I think
Yeah.
we need to sort out the team because I think it's going to take 2 or 3 transfer windows, and I
Really.
think it's going to be at least 2
Really.
summer transfer windows,
Yeah.
and I think then next year we have to buy a striker. But yeah, that's probably it. And I think for Golden Boot, I think it's definitely between Haaland, Salah, and Kane. I think if I had to pick one, the fan in me wants to say, not fan for, fan as a United fan. Ronaldo is probably not going to get the service to put it as there.
Not
So
really.
the fan of the player, I want to say Haaland because I don't like the fact he plays for City. He had the weirdest announcement, but I like the fact that I like him as a player, right? I like the fact he's ruthless. I like the fact that he is so focused on his goal.
Probably he's liked by everybody, all of the fan bases.
I think some fan
As a
bases
player.
hate him. I think the difference between him and Mbappe is I think he's very focused on his goal. He's ruthless for a 21-year-old,
For sure.
and I think the fan in me wants to say Haaland because I think Haaland will get more chances per game than any other player because of the way.
Certainly.
Yeah, because of City. But I think I wonder if Salah might be stunted by the fact that he's lost Mane. Interestingly, and I think I want to talk about this another time, is whether whether Salah only signed the new contract with Liverpool because Mane left. Because he was stalling for ages, he was stalling for a long time.
Could be.
As soon as Mane
I
left,
think-
as soon as Mane
I think
left,
Liverpool. Yeah.
Mane
Yeah.
left to Bayern 30 million, right? Which is 40 million, insane value. As soon as Mane left for a 30-year-old, as soon as Mane left, Salah signed. I think 1 or 2 days later, or a week later.
Yeah.
So
I think
he kept saying it's a non-money issue. It's a non-money issue. I think we might have found that non-money issue. That's the only.
to be honest, I think Liverpool couldn't risk using both of them in the same. That would have been great. And they wouldn't have probably gotten the right replacement in time.
Yeah, I don't think there is anyone out
They
there.
had to get down the signal.
No, but I think his non-contract issue or non-money issue, non-salary issue was with Mane. I think obviously they both had egos and they both wanted to be the main man.
Yeah, could be.
Because there was obviously that
But
talk last
they
year.
got along quite well, to be honest. Like
They
I
did,
know.
but they also wanted to both be main man, right? There was also that talk last year about Mane being up for Ballon d'Or if they won
Ballon
the
d'Or,
Champions
yeah.
League. Because he won AFCON, he's obviously qualified his team for the World Cup. I think I'm actually going to a Senegal game,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, are you going to a Senegal game?
I think so. Am I going? Let me have a quick look. Am I going? I might be going to. I'm trying to see, but I might be going to Ecuador, Senegal.
Oh.
I'm very excited at this point because I don't think.
So you're probably going to catch Mane, Edward Mendy, Koulibaly,
Idrissa Gueye.
Idrissa. Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of talent in that Senegal team.
A lot of talent, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Koulibaly is captain. I always thought it was Mane.
Definitely.
I always thought it was Mane.
And
Yeah, so
Maybe
Koulibaly's.
Koulibaly.
They got Diallo. They've got just a guy, Mendy, who plays for Leicester. Keita Balde, Mane, Ismaila Sarr, who's actually being linked with. I think he was linked with Spurs, or where was he linked? I can't remember.
as in Malang Sarr.
No, Ismaila Sarr.
Oh,
The Watford winger. He's super quick. But yeah. There's also
okay.
Bunassar. But yeah. I think that probably covers our top six. We had a few more teams to talk about, but I think we are running out of time. But I think we
Man.
are going to be back again with another episode or two where we're going to talk very quickly about the rest of the teams.
Prem teams.
And we're also going to do an episode 2. We're talking about the rest of the teams, and we'll also talk a little bit about some of the foreign teams, because I think we wanted you're very keen to talk about La Liga.
Yes.
Especially Real Madrid. I think you're also keen to give your opinion or 2 cents on Barcelona and their amazing money. And their signing of Lewandowski, etc. And which is actually just become official yesterday. And I think you want to also talk about Bayern, because you've got their signing of Mane.
Then the 2 guys from Ajax, Mazraoui and Gravenberch.
And you've just sent me something. You passed over something, haven't you? About Go on.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Go on.
De Ligt to Bayern. Here we go.
Matthias de Ligt. You know, he was in at Chelsea, but then they have just blown them out of the water.
Chelsea have been hard done by, to be honest. They lost on Rafinha.
You know what? I'm not complaining, because they bought everything in the past. But what's the fee? Very quickly, what's the fee before we go?
So it's more than 80 million for sure.
Pounds or euros? Euros it must be.
Euros.
80 million euros for Matthias de Ligt. Wow.
Contract is up to June 2027.
5 years.
5 years.
So I'll take him to when he's.
I think that's a great sign. That's a great sign.
That's a great signing.
That's a great sign. Yeah, they needed a centre back and a leader as well.
It's really.
I have heard many Bayern fans complaining about the lack of a proper leader, especially after the departure of Alaba. I think De Ligt brings that with him. Yeah.
Maybe. I think that's probably interesting. Let's see. I mean, I think it's waiting for it to. I mean, it's here we go, so it's pretty much done. But he'll probably play with Upamecano, I guess. Good.
So they've got Upamecano, De Ligt, and they lost Sule to Dortmund.
Yeah, which is a great signing.
They needed to bring in someone.
I think we'll talk about that next time as well.
Yeah.
Somebody's already put it on there. Tried to. Oh, they got Lucas Hernandez, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I think they're pretty stacked by the looks of it. I think Upamecano might be the one to drop. I don't know. But we'll cover that in the next episode. So.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much for joining me for this one, Happy.
Yeah, man. It was lovely.
I think we got a good chat about football. I think you're going to probably get a lot of backlash about some of your opinions. I might get the same, to be honest. I think I probably will.
I mean, that's what we are here for, at the end of the day.
Yep.
Just sharing our opinions, and
I think it's very interesting to get other people's opinions. I think we will obviously circle with opinions and people, etc. And I think this is very important to just get things out there, because I think there's a lot of things happening at this moment in time, and we just need to not just talk about it, but I think especially for clubs like Manchester United, fans need a way to express their emotion, because I think there's a lot of expressed emotion.
I feel you, mate. It's been a pretty tough 2 months and a half.
Yeah.
Considering the Frankie thing, and almost a year if you consider your season overall. So,
yeah, I think we got most people have had enough, but I think this is probably the end for today. Once again, thank you. This is
my pleasure, man.
This is your host AK, and along with Happy. Thank you so much for today. If you liked it, you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, give it a heart, follow it around. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in.